We all know when temperatures stay below freezing for an extended period of time, lakes, rivers, and streams freeze over. And when temperatures begin to warm up, that icy layer melts. But that's also when concern kicks in for forecasters, emergency officials, and residents along these waterways. If a waterway is not completely frozen and only the surface is frozen, there is still water flowing beneath the surface. When temperatures rise above freezing, those surface ice sheets begin to melt and break into pieces that then flow along the river. These tiny glaciers traveling downstream are called ice flows. Ice flows can build up anywhere there is an obstruction in a waterway, such as a bend, bridge, narrower passage, or even just a simple decrease in the slope. These built-up ice flows create ice jams. Ice jams significantly slow the flow of water and put nearby areas at risk for flooding, especially when rain falls around the same time the warmer temperatures occur. Rain increases the water levels in these waterways and usually causes sudden breakups of ice jams, creating flash flooding concerns downstream. However, if the ice jam does not break up, flooding can occur upstream instead. With our recent warm-up and rainfall this past week, some areas in Pennsylvania are preparing for impacts from potential ice jam breakups. The National Weather Service Forecast Office in State College issued flood warnings and watches for York and Lancaster counties earlier this week because of ice jams along the Susquehanna River. So I stopped by the National Weather Service office to talk with one of the forecasters about forecasting ice jams.
It's really hard to forecast a particular ice jam that say it's going to happen at this location tomorrow at this time, but we look for conditions that say the potential is there across a region or an area for ice jams to happen. And with the last week, with the first set of significant rainfall and warm temperatures, we kind of we knew that the ice was probably going to start moving from experience, and we're still dealing with it. We still have quite a bit of ice on the Susquehanna River right now.
To make forecasting ice jams a bit more difficult, unlike some areas farther northeast of us in New England, which see ice jams every year, Pennsylvania is not a regular for ice jam activity.
For Pennsylvania, it varies by season. The last two winters were very mild. We saw very little ice formation. We really didn't have an ice jam season. Several winters ago, we were quite cold. We had a lot of ice on the rivers. And then we hit a mild and rather tranquil stretch of weather, and we really didn't see a lot of ice jam flooding. This year, we obviously have been very cold over the last month, and we've seen probably as one of the more active ice jam seasons we've had in quite a while.
In fact, we've already had several ice jams cause flooding here in central Pennsylvania.
There's been some ice jams on Penns Creek and other locations across the area that actually have shut down access to communities. I mean, it can become very serious if it's in the wrong spot at the right time.
These chunks of ice can act like a slab of concrete with razor-sharp edges and create extensive damage. Some ice jams have been known to rip decks off and knock whole houses off of their foundations. If you live near a river, stream, or lake, keep a watchful eye on it as the ice starts to melt, especially if you live near a bend or other obstruction common for ice jam formations. It's hard to predict the extent of flooding that could occur, but some locations, even a mile away from an ice jam, could experience some flooding. So it's best to keep an eye out until the ice is completely gone and have a flood plan in place. And as always, if you come across a flooded roadway, turn around and don't drown. For Weather or Not, I'm Christy Stewart.